You won't believe what went down at the park that morning. I had gone out to feed the ducks, hoping for a quiet, peaceful moment. But instead, I got slapped. Slapped by my HOA president. Yes, her. The woman who treats our neighborhood like her personal kingdom. And the kicker? She had no idea who she just hit. Not just any resident. I was the city mayor. 10 minutes later, her entire HOA board voted her out. Every single one. 10 minutes. It felt like a surreal dream. Yet every second happened exactly as it seems. And yes, I still feel the sting on my cheek and have a front row seat to the chaos she created. The morning air had that crisp, electric quality, the kind that makes you inhale deeply and pretend winter isn't coming. I thought I had the park to myself. The pond shimmered in sunlight, ducks waddling and quacking, blissfully unaware of the storm about to hit. My sneakers crunch along the gravel path as I approach the feeding bench, bag of breadcrumbs in hand. Peace. Simple. Perfect. Then she appeared. Karen, the HOA president, glaring like she had sharpened glass for eyes, striding toward me, her coil of hair bouncing in that telltale way that screamed, I have too much time and not enough sense. My first thought, oh no, she's not about to, hey, you can't feed those ducks here. Her voice was shrill but precise, like a drill sergeant issuing a citation on her turf. There's no sign, I stammered, raising the bag, heartbeat spiking like it had its own vendetta. That doesn't matter. This pond is for residents only, and feeding wildlife is strictly prohibited. Did you even check the HOA newsletter? She took a step closer, hands on hips, fury simmering behind her sunglasses. I tried reasoning, keeping calm. I'm a resident. Before I could finish, her hand shot out and smacked my cheek, hard enough to sting, not enough to cause real harm. My jaw dropped. Words lodged somewhere between shock and disbelief. You! I gasped, stepping back, wiping my cheek, trying to process that a human being just hit me over bread for ducks. Her face twisted in righteous indignation. I'm protecting our community. I blinked, realizing the absurdity. Yes, absurd, but also the escalation. This wasn't just a slap. It was a declaration of war. Standing there stunned, I knew my next move had to be precise. She had no idea who she just hit. The echoes of her slap still tingled on my cheek. Around us, the park was quiet. No joggers, no dog walkers, no kids with balloons. Complete silence. Karen's chest practically vibrated with self-righteous fury. Do you even know what rules you're breaking? She demanded, voice cracking theatrically. I raised my free hand, the one not holding breadcrumbs, trying to steady the chaos. Maybe I don't know your rules, but I do know hitting someone over bread is unwise. Her glare sharpened. Unwise? You're lucky I didn't call the cops. Lucky? My brain ran to the possibilities. Restraining orders, angry HOA emails, headlines. Then it clicked. The power I held, the office I carried. It wasn't something I flaunted casually. Not here. Not now. Actually, I said, voice steady, deliberate, I think you should call the cops. Her eyebrows shot up like a switch had flipped. Because I am. The words rolled off my tongue, slow and deliberate. The mayor of this city. Time slowed. Her jaw dropped, hand frozen midair, as if she tried to slap God. Sunglasses slid down her nose, her face shifting from fury to sheer panic in seconds. That's impossible, she stammered. The word impossible seemed too small for the disbelief etched across her features. I let her stew. The ducks quacked, indifferent, perfect. Neighbors began trickling in, not witnesses to the slap, but drawn by Karen's flailing, flustered expressions. Whispers swirled around her, curiosity spreading like wildfire. This wasn't about ducks or the park anymore. It was power, perception, and the explosive potential of revealing the truth. Her face was a living meme, mouth opening and closing like a goldfish, eyes wide as if I'd just announced I'd invented gravity. Around us, birds chirped, leaves rustled. The world itself seemed to judge her. A few neighbors gathered, drawn by tension alone. What happened? A woman asked, coffee in hand. Another jogger slowed, stopping mid-stride. Is she screaming at you? Karen flung her arms like a conductor of chaos. He's trespassing. Her words tumbled like a poorly stacked Jenga tower. I remained calm, voice even, eyes locked on hers. Actually, I said, lowering the breadcrumbs to the ground, the only thing being trespassed here is your judgment. A couple of neighbors chuckled softly. Karen's glare could have melted metal. You can't, you're not, she sputtered, each word flailing, meaningless. I stepped closer, not threatening, just close enough to dominate the room. I understand you're upset, but let me clarify something. I paused for dramatic effect, watching her pupils. Her pupils dilated in real-time panic. I am the mayor. That means I am your city authority. You just slapped the mayor in a public park in front of witnesses. A stunned silence fell, broken only by the distant bark of a dog. Karen's usual arsenal of excuses evaporated like mist. Neighbors leaned in, whispering, exchanging glances that screamed. Oh, this is getting good. Her breathing quickened. A mix of rage and humiliation. I didn't know, she stammered. And that, I said softly, almost pityingly, is exactly why consequences exist. From behind us, the HOA secretary appeared, clipboard in hand. Karen, we need to talk about the incident, she said neutrally, though the tension was palpable. Karen froze, eyes darting between me and the approaching witness. That's when it hit me. The dominoes had started falling. Her reign of intimidation in this neighborhood was about to be tested. The storm wasn't coming. It was already here. Karen's face shifted from panic to full-blown meltdown. Lipstick smudged at the corners, hands trembling. Not from fear of ducks, but from realizing that every neighbor present silently judged her. I could practically hear her mental math ticking. Mayor slapped. Witnesses. HOA board. Consequences. The secretary, clipboard steady, stepped forward. Karen, let's step aside and discuss this privately. Her eyes flicked between me and the secretary, mouth opening as if to argue, but no words came, just a shaky exhale. Her armor, the fierce authority wielded over emails, meetings, and social media, had evaporated like morning mist. Look, this was just... She faltered, trying to sound reasonable, but slapping a mayor in public had a weight she couldn't evade. Not just misunderstanding. I said calmly, you assaulted a public official. There are consequences for both the law and social accountability. Her shoulders sagged, pride colliding with reality. I didn't know it was you. And that, I said measured, is precisely the problem. Actions have weight, Karen. Your role doesn't give you immunity. Around us, neighbors whispered, some nodding, others filming on phones. Social proof shone like a spotlight, exposing her carefully curated image, one cultivated through HOA meetings, barbecues, and social media, to crumble before everyone she wanted to impress. The secretary's voice cut through the tension. Board meeting in 15 minutes. Conference room. Karen, you're expected to attend. Karen's eyes widened. Board meeting? Her voice cracked. You can? I interrupted almost gently. And you will. This isn't debate. It's accountability. The ducks quacked obliviously in the distance, their carefree noise a stark contrast to Karen's storm of shame. I felt a mix of satisfaction and pity. She had built a world of self-importance, and now she teetered on its collapse. The secretary gestured toward the clubhouse. Karen's legs wobbled as she walked, flanked by the secretary and her inner circle, the weight of impending judgment pressing down. Inside, the clubhouse smelled faintly of lemon polish and anxiety. Fluorescent lights buzzed softly. Karen walked first, shoulders stiff, lips tight, the look that says, I am in control, even when reality proves otherwise. I followed deliberately casual, letting the room feel the weight of my presence. The board had already gathered around the long mahogany table. Papers, agendas, coffee cups, props of the drama about to unfold. Karen's eyes flicked toward me, panic and disbelief wrestling with ego. This isn't necessary, she began, voice trembling. I raised a hand, calm but firm. Actually, it is. Silence fell. Board members shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't about lawns or parking anymore. This was power, pride, and public accountability. The board president, a woman in her 50s with a calm yet firm demeanor, gestured for Karen to sit. "We need to discuss what happened at the park today." Karen blinked rapidly, fumbling. I didn't know it was it was an assault," I interrupted gently. "And it happened in front of witnesses." The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the air conditioner. Members exchanged glances, some sympathetic, others calculating optics. One younger member muttered, Mayor, she slapped the mayor." I let it hang. Silence as a weapon. Karen's facade cracked. Fingers drummed nervously on the table. Truth matters more than ego in a boardroom. Finally, the board president leaned forward. "Karen, given the severity of this incident, we are prepared to take immediate action. You're no longer serving as HOA president." Her mouth fell open. "What? You can't." 10 minutes. Another board member said softly. 10 minutes of deliberation. This is a decision. Her face shifted from red to pale to a mix of shock and rage. She opened her mouth, searching for words to reverse reality. But reality doesn't negotiate. The room seemed to exhale, tension dissipating like a storm. Karen slumped, mouth agape. The words were out knocking the air from her lungs. Board members shifted, some smirking, others scribbling notes, all aware this was no ordinary HOA meeting. I stayed seated, calm authority radiating, knowing the truth was on my side. Karen finally muttered to herself, This is ridiculous. I've done so much for this community." "The irony is delicious," I said softly. "Doing something for a community doesn't mean you get to slap people in a public park. Leadership comes with responsibility, not entitlement." Her allies hesitated, loyalty wavering. One cleared their throat. "Maybe we overreacted." I blinked slowly. Overreacted? A slap in front of witnesses. The word you're searching for is consequences. Karen's face twisted in indignation and disbelief, words caught between stubborn pride and raw humiliation. Watching someone so used to control realize that it slipped through their fingers in minutes was fascinating, painful, but mesmerizing. The board president spoke again. "The decision is final. Karen, your resignation is effective immediately. The board will elect a new president at the next meeting." Karen nodded slowly, hands trembling as reality pressed down. She stood, muttering about appeals and legal action, but her words lacked the weight to change what had just happened. Conviction lingered. Everyone knew it was over. As Karen exited the room, the air felt lighter. Relief mingled with disbelief. 10 minutes. That's all it took. Outside, in the park where it began, the ducks continued their oblivious quacking. Life moved on, yet the world had shifted. I smiled faintly, still feeling the sting on my cheek, not humiliation, but the strange poetry of karma. Word travels fast in a neighborhood like ours. By morning, the park incident had multiplied tenfold. Texts pinged incessantly. Neighbors stopped me on the street. Social media buzzed with shock, glee, and gossip. I tried to maintain normalcy, meetings, schedules, decisions, but perception had changed. People regarded me with awe, curiosity, cautious admiration. And Karen? She was now the whisper on every street corner. Passing the coffee shop, I overheard. "Did you hear? The HOA president got voted out after that slap. By the mayor." Another neighbor nodded, spilling latte. I almost laughed. Tragically for her, public perception is fragile. One moment, Karen was untouchable. The next, a cautionary tale. Karma, it seemed, was social as well as personal. Later, I returned to park. The pond was peaceful. Ducks quacked softly as if nothing had happened. I tossed breadcrumbs, savoring the quiet. A small group of residents approached hesitantly, smiling. "We just want to say thanks," one murmured, "for handling that, for keeping our neighborhood sane." I waved, but felt warmth. It wasn't about ego, it was fairness restored. In neighborhoods, fairness is as rare as calm during a hurricane. By evening, Karen's calls went unanswered, her allies retreating. Quiet, but heavy. A reminder that actions have consequences, and reputations, however polished, crumble quickly. And yet life continued. Ducks quacked. Children laughed. Neighbors walked dogs. True victory wasn't the slap, the boardroom, or the headlines. It was a return of ordinary peace. But my phone buzzed. Karen wasn't finished. Despite public humiliation, she was resilient, relentless, convinced the universe owed her a second chance. First sign, an email blast. Important HOA meeting. Urgent attendance required. I almost laughed. Desperate, clumsy, painfully transparent. I opened it. Passive-aggressive undertones, minor rule citations, subtle pleas for sympathy. Classic Karen. That evening, back at the park, I saw her pacing alone across the pond. I approached. She froze, massive forced composure. "Mayor," she said, tight and rehearsed, "we need to talk about everything." I raised an eyebrow. "Everything or your pride? Don't mock me. This is serious. The board, residents, they don't understand. I can fix it. I can make it right." I folded my arms. "Karen, you slapped me. You got voted out. The board acted in 10 minutes. That's accountability. Irreversible." She shook her head, disbelief and stubbornness etched across her face. "I'm a leader. People respect me. I can't just be thrown out." I sighed. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned. Slapping people isn't leadership. It's abuse. Her hands trembled slightly. For a moment, I glimpsed the human panic beneath the fury, the unraveling of a carefully constructed identity. Sharp inhale. She turned abruptly and stormed off, muttering about appeals, lawsuits, exposing me. I watched, knowing the ripple she started wasn't finished. Her next move would either escalate or implode spectacularly, and I had a front-row seat. By morning, Karen's desperate attempt at retaliation leaked to the grapevine. Emails, passive-aggressive notes, calls. Instead of influence, they exposed her. Patterns, manipulation, ego. I sat in my office, phone buzzing with texts, emails, and calls. Curiosity about this HOA drama had transcended neighborhood politics. Then came the voicemails from Karen. Pleas, threats, voice rising and cracking. One stood out. "You haven't seen the last of me. This isn't over." I smiled faintly. Delicious irony. She had spent months policing behavior, controlling every detail, now powerless and scrambling. Later that afternoon, the HOA held an emergency follow-up meeting. Tension vibrated through the room. Karen wasn't invited. Her absence a vacuum of potential chaos. The board, now confident, detailed the process of replacing her, reinforced rules and documented behavior. Relief radiated from members. Evidence, witnesses, and undeniable public humiliation made the decision bulletproof. By the meeting's end, the vote was unanimous. Karen's tenure terminated. 10 minutes. The same 10 minutes as the first confrontation, now extended the procedure. Final. Irrevocable. Outside, the park was calm. Ducks waddled. Children played. Life returned. The neighborhood had a story now. Boundaries, consequences, and a slap that triggered a chain reaction nobody would forget. Karen's reign was over, but echoes of her fury lingered. The neighborhood exhaled. Deep, satisfying. Storm passed quiet. I returned to the bench where it began. Sunlight glinted off the water. A soft breeze carried the scent of fresh grass. I sat, exhaling, brushing the breadcrumbs. No fear. No looming confrontation. Only peace. The kind that comes after justice quietly takes its course. A few neighbors passed, smiling. One man with a golden retriever said, "You handled that perfectly, Mayor. We don't know what we'd have done without you." I shrugged, small smile tugging at my lips. Sometimes the universe just aligns the pieces. I reflected on Karen, loud, demanding, convinced of her importance. Yet 10 minutes, 10 measly minutes, and her carefully constructed world crumbled. Arrogance and aggression rarely survive scrutiny. Even power has limits. As I walked home, neighbors laughed softly, sharing the story with amusement rather than anger. The drama had become legend, a story of hubris, accountability, and justice served calmly but decisively. Karen would return, perhaps to appeal or vent, but the memory of that slap, public exposure, and the board's swift action would follow her. I smiled to myself, feeling the sting on my cheek one last time, a lingering reminder of chaos turned karmic poetry. Sometimes the world balances itself quietly, sometimes ducks watch, and sometimes a slap changes everything.